just received the information that China's automobile exports reached 4.239 million units from January to October. A country that introduces a new energy vehicle within 10 years is unrivaled worldwide. Isn't this a historic achievement? It's bewildering to think about the actions of some Western politicians. Do you remember 2 months ago, right after Chinese car manufacturers returned from the Munich Motor Show, the European Union became not angry but rather anxious. On September 13, EU President Ursula von der Leyen announced an investigation into anti-subsidies for Chinese electric cars. The reason was that Chinese cars were being sold in Europe at extremely low prices, leading them to suspect that China was artificially lowering prices through massive subsidies. If the anti-subsidies are implemented, it could potentially have a comprehensive impact on China's automobile trade with Europe, amounting to over £1 trillion RMB. In response to this, the European Chamber of Commerce in China also urgently issued a statement, urging the EU to objectively view the development of China's electric vehicle industry, rather than arbitrarily using unilateral economic and trade tools to suppress its capabilities. China will not accept the groundless accusation of dumping in its development of electric vehicles. Furthermore, it is understood that this investigation is strongly pushed by France. Why does France have a bone to pick with China? It's because the French automotive industry is in a critical situation. In the era of traditional fuel-powered cars, France and Germany were both strong automotive nations in Europe. However, in the era of new energy vehicles, German carmakers have been able to maintain good competitiveness, for example, with the Volkswagen ID series. In contrast, France has fallen far behind, as it has not been able to produce a competitive new energy vehicle. Coincidentally, in the past 2 years, Chinese new energy vehicles have started to enter the European Union market on a large scale, and French cars are unable to compete with German cars, let alone with Chinese new energy vehicles. Therefore, the last resort is to resort to trade coercion. The low prices of Chinese cars are a natural result of highly competitive market competition. The new Tesla Model 3 is sold for 250,000 renminbi in China, but it is sold for 330,000 renminbi in Germany. The high level of localization and efficient production scale of raw materials in China provides important guarantees for reducing the cost of domestically produced batteries. In contrast, the US government, in order to curb the development of Chinese television, has been heavily subsidizing competition, continuously increasing support for local car companies, with each round involving hundreds of billions or even trillions of dollars. In the face of such unscrupulous actions by the United States, the EU has chosen to selectively disappear. You can't see me, you can't see me. Trade barriers may hinder the development of Chinese electric vehicles in Europe. Ultimately, European car manufacturers need to accelerate their own development pace, rather than relying on the government to provide a little extra encouragement to foreign competitors to solve the problem. The EU should think about how to improve its own industrial development efficiency. After all, blowing out someone else's candle does not make your own shine brighter. After the emergence of new forces in the Chinese automotive industry, there has been a strong trend of going global. Some high-quality new energy vehicle companies and advanced battery technologies have entered the global market and gained favor and popularity among consumers in Europe, the United States, Southeast Asia, and other regions. The sharing of high-quality and affordable products with people around the world to change their travel experiences and lifestyles should be a commendable endeavor. However, some have become uneasy. Recently, the European Union, citing fair trade, has announced plans to conduct anti-subsidy investigations into Chinese new energy vehicles, wielding the tariff stick. The essence of Chinese electric vehicles going global is to promote win-win cooperation. However, the European Union has thrown out the anti-subsidy investigation, which can be seen as a step backward in terms of economic globalization. What are their reasons and logic for this unease? What should China do next? To understand this issue, it is important to recognize a fact. For many decades, in many fields, developed countries have been making money from China. Before the emergence of new forces in the automotive industry, how many domestically produced Chinese cars were on the streets? The vast majority were foreign brands, and although many were joint ventures, the key core technologies belonged to others, leading to those who controlled the technology reaping significant profits. However, Western countries have tightly controlled the key core technologies. Whether it's German or Japanese cars, they have only allowed Chinese companies to do OEM manufacturing. Technology has been tightly controlled, so China had to start with joint ventures. The national car Xiaoli from the 1980s and 1990s had its technology purchased from Japan. Those who have experienced Xiaoli may understand that the difference from cars like the Santana of the same era was significant. However, Chinese people did not come to dislike Xiaoli. On the contrary, those automotive memories left many good impressions on China. It was in the process of learning by doing and making up for deficiencies that the Chinese people fostered their car-making dream, leading China to accelerate its catching-up strides. China not only vigorously strengthened joint ventures with world-renowned car companies but also opened its arms, providing land for them to build factories in China, sharing the dividends of China's rapid economic development. Looking back, without this openness and policies, without the entry of advanced international fuel car brands, China's automotive industry would not have progressed so rapidly, and Chinese new energy vehicles would not have been able to overtake in the bends and change lanes. Now, Chinese domestically produced electric vehicles are prevalent on the streets. In terms of driving experience, as well as features, appearance, and overall vehicle quality, there has been significant progress compared to the past, continually reshaping the perception of Chinese domestically produced cars among the Chinese people. This landscape and new trend have gradually embedded themselves in the hearts of more and more people. This is not just to express patriotic sentiment, but because the experience of Chinese domestically produced cars is indeed quite good. Recently, there have been some subtle changes in the automotive industry that have garnered widespread attention. For example, some foreign joint venture brands have exited the Chinese market, including the once glorious Guangzhou Automobile Group Mitsubishi, which announced restructuring to become a wholly owned subsidiary of the Chinese state-owned enterprise, Guangzhou Automobile Group, with its production facilities to be taken over by the Guangzhou New Energy sub-brand, Guangzhou Ion. Additionally, several leading global automotive companies have been forming partnerships with Chinese new energy brands. Recently, the parent company of Maserati, Stellantis Group, reached a strategic cooperation agreement with the Hangzhou-based electric vehicle company, NIO, with Stellantis Group acquiring about 20% of NIO's shares for €1.5 billion, while NIO will provide electric vehicle technology and ecosystem support to Stellantis Group. In the past, joint ventures in China involved attracting foreign car companies to establish joint ventures by offering land and capital. Now, it is China's technology going global, attracting investment from leading global car companies. This reverse operation at least indicates 2 points. First, electrification and intelligence are the general trend, and the global automotive industry landscape is quietly changing. Second, it reflects the confidence of capital in Chinese domestic brands. As China is gaining increasing recognition internationally, some Western countries and interest groups may view these changes with narrow-minded zero-sum game thinking, naturally leading to panic and unease. After all, the global automotive market pie is only so big, and with the rise of Chinese electric vehicles, previously prominent foreign brands and joint venture companies may be affected to some extent in the short term, and cannot expect to make money lying down in China as before. In reality, this new trend and change is a great thing. With China now leading in electric vehicles, the globalization of this industry will undoubtedly accelerate the reshaping of the global automotive industry landscape, benefiting people around the world. The world market is vast, and advantages can be integrated. Just because China is a latecomer in the automotive industry, there should be no room for arrogance and prejudice. In the past, the Chinese market has never excluded world car brands, including those from Europe and the United States, and has never seen them as a threat, but rather allowed them to fully enjoy the dividends of China's development. Today, as Chinese electric vehicles expand globally, they are encountering obstacles, which is clearly unreasonable and unequal. Win-win cooperation is the trend of world economic development. With China now having accumulated some advantages in electric vehicle technology and related industries, the European market should open up and allow Sino-European car companies to strengthen cooperation in new energy technology, jointly expanding the pie and allowing people around the world to share the dividends of technological revolution. It is regrettable that some Western politicians have not recognized this. Some, driven by the desire to gain personal political capital, insist on implementing a risk-off strategy towards China. For example, Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, expressed concerns that the influx of Chinese electric vehicles into the European market could threaten the production of electric vehicles in Europe. Without initiating corresponding anti-dumping investigations, she claimed that there would be an investigation into Chinese electric vehicles for potential subsidies. In reality, there are significant internal divisions within the EU member states regarding this issue. Such blatant unilateral protectionism not only runs counter to the tide of globalization but also seriously disrupts and distorts the global automotive industry supply chain. It does not help Europe address the various challenges to its competitiveness. As Chinese companies expand globally, it is difficult to avoid this step. Faced with external encirclement, the key is to remain steadfast in doing one's own work. It is important to realize that the Chinese automotive industry has long been in a weak position. While the rise of new forces in car manufacturing has gradually reversed this trend, the industry's rise cannot be achieved in the short term. In the current wave of going global, China needs to engage in more calculated thinking and not immediately elevate domestically produced electric vehicles too high. The Chinese automotive industry has not yet reached the point where it can confidently claim to have overcome all obstacles. It is important to remain calm and continue to steadily produce high-quality vehicles. In recent years, with the rapid development of domestically produced electric vehicles in China, some issues have emerged that urgently need to be addressed. For example, there is a lack of profitability, with many brands experiencing low sales and no profits, or even increasing losses as sales rise. Additionally, there are problems with disorderly expansion and cutthroat competition. The issue of excessive internal competition is particularly acute, and the cultivation of well-known companies, strong brands, and high-quality markets is still insufficient. Furthermore, some companies that have no prior experience in the automotive industry have also joined the market, which requires regulation and guidance. The electric vehicle industry has a wide range of supporting industries and a long industrial chain, testing the strength of the entire basic industry and industrial chain. Therefore, the rise of domestically produced electric vehicles in China is not just about the car companies themselves, but also about elevating the entire industry and industrial chain. This is crucial for the upcoming new energy army going global. After all, the capacity of a single enterprise to withstand pressure is limited, but if a large number of industry chains emerge in batches, China can break through the barriers erected by the outside world and truly stand at the forefront of the world. China firmly believes that its automotive industry will usher in a new era, and the dream of China becoming a powerful automotive nation will surely be realized. It is also hoped that countries around the world can open their arms and together continue to write a wonderful story of win-win cooperation in the field of new energy vehicles.